Hey everyone, it's actually Jeb Bush, and today is another episode of Inside Jeb. And today I have an extremely special guest that I'm so excited to talk to. It is Candi slash RudeM00se from Dapper Labs and Top Shot. She is a computer science major, something that I think is really cool because that's my background as well. She's one of the OG community managers of Top Shot. She's a mother. She's a successful CryptoKitty OG collector, heavyweight in the NFT system, and so many more things that I could talk about. It's very impressive. So thank you so much, Candi, for making time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always excited to come hang out with the community and
Awesome.
chat with folks.
So right off the bat, if you could just give me a quick rundown of like what you're doing currently with Top Shot, maybe your job description, what your everyday looks like.
So Top Shot is, and Dapper, I guess, is a really fun place in that your job description generally varies, day to day and based on what's needed. So, that gives us a lot of flexibility and agility to adjust as the environment adjusts.
Mhm.
Primarily, like my role is community manager, so a lot of that is keeping tabs on socials, keeping tabs on Discord, interacting with the community, making sure that sentiment is going well, and if it's not, figuring out what's going on and how do we fix that. But I also, not only am I a community manager for Top Shot, I also work with CryptoKitties. Kind of working on some of the other projects Dapper's got up, working on getting up and running. And also, I've recently moved into some of the influencer marketing. So, coordinating with folks to help get the marketing and promotions out for Top Shot.
Okay,
So,
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
it's a lot. But as you mentioned, having the computer science background, as well as a communication degree, like I have a lot of flexibility for kind of working as a liaison between the dev side and the community side, and making sure that what people are asking for is feasible, and explaining it in a way that is able to be built. So
Well, that's cool because yeah, that's a very important job that a lot of people can't do. Like there's a lot of people on the dev side who do not know how to explain like, hey, this can't just be done. And there's a lot of people on the communication side that are like, why can't you just do this? Like, you're just adding trade tickets. Like, how hard can that be? So that's really cool to hear. And it sounds like you're doing that not just for Top Shot, which is incredible. So just you're just constantly adding onto your plate. So once again, like it's incredibly impressive to see and very inspirational for sure. You mentioned you have a degree in communications, and I saw that not a lot of people go from communications to computer science. So, what made you want to do that, and how do you feel about that? Looking back at it, do you feel like that was the right choice?
yeah, so when I went to college initially, like ever since I was a kid, my family told me I was going to be a doctor because I was smart. So
Oh,
obviously that's the
same
answer,
here.
And then I got to college and found out that being smart is not the same as having study skills. And it turns out you need those to be a doctor. So the practical application was a little bit more difficult. And so I ended up like falling into a communication degree because essentially when I was taking the classes, like communication was something that I was like, oh my gosh, this makes the world make sense. Like
Mhm.
there are now, as funny as it is, like scripts and algorithms for human behavior that you can apply to get desired results. So, if
Yeah.
you think about that, like very similar to computer science, like humans and computers are not all that different, as funny as that sounds. So I ended up getting this communication degree. And when I told my mom about it, she's like, what are you going to do with a communication degree? I was like, I don't know. Like, I like music and, concerts, and I like the internet, and I like football. So maybe I could just do something with those and like, hang out on the internet and be an agent or something, work on people's websites. She's like, you can't make a job out of that, can you? And I'd like to point out that I can, not in the way that I intended, and only 13 years later than I intended, but still, like the point remains. A lot of it was just understanding the world and understanding people, and like that to me it seemed like it would unlock a lot of doors in solving problems. So communication is super important, and as you know, being in the computer science field, like you really need communication. You can build the coolest stuff, but if you can't convey what it is and how people should be using it, or figure out how people are using it and how you can then tweak it, like you're not going to make it. So
Yeah, no, exactly. I actually minored in philosophy while I took my computer science degree, and it was kind of the same thing. The reason that drew me to it was because I was like, oh, like all this problem solving and breaking things down into steps, like this can be applied in other fields too. And it's something that I really enjoy, and I like talking and discussing things. So yeah, I think it's something that's very important, and like I said earlier, something that's really not taught enough, where you have the super technical people who don't necessarily know how to communicate, or the communication people who probably have the capability to extend and at least understand some basic aspects of development or engineering, or something that's considered a little more advanced, and they don't necessarily try to step outside that box. And I think when people do, it's always super, super fascinating to me. You got a job for a GM, and you were working in the Top Shot Discord, and you ended up kind of creating your own job and making that jump, leaving GM and just being like, yeah, I'm doing this full time. So at least when I hear that, that seems pretty terrifying. So what motivated you to do that? And like years later now, looking back, how do you feel about that situation, and what advice would you maybe give to someone who's younger, maybe kind of trying to be in two worlds at once?
So, I was working at GM and doing like a DevOps role, and that was really exciting. And I love the job. Working at the RenCen, actually, like the headquarters was really cool. And, you have like the big business, like enterprise, sort of environment. And that was definitely very different than the Dapper environment, where it's more of startup and agile and like everything moves so quickly, So those are two totally different cultures for sure. But it, for me, like it made sense because I had joined CryptoKitties like just as a community member in January of 2018. I was playing CryptoKitties. I was part of the community. I, was volunteer moderating, because all of the moderators for Dapper products, have just been volunteers over the years. So those were things that I was moderating CryptoKitties, and then there was the Project Cheese Wizard, so I was in that.
Mhm.
And then Top Shot, because I didn't actually join the team, officially for Top Shot until March of this year. So it hasn't been that long,
Yeah.
but I had been around long enough that, like, knowing a lot of the people who worked at Dapper, I was like, these are amazing people. And the community is like a very special place. It's something that, I spent so much time volunteering because I wanted to help make it a place that I was proud to be a part of, and that, I could be a part of, because,
Mhm.
a lot of places on the internet are perhaps not places you want to be hanging out.
Yeah.
So for me, like, it was kind of a no-brainer, because especially once, the pandemic happened and everybody was working from home, like here I was working for GM, but I was at home and, had my work laptop, and then I had my desktop, which is, always open to Top Shot or CryptoKitties Discord. And I was like, I'm spending more time here. And I think that a lot of, the skills that I have could better be applied to somewhere like Dapper Labs, where it
Mhm.
can, kind of take that full scope instead of solely focusing on just the development side, or, kind of,
Yeah.
it's a different way to solve problems, different problems to be solved. So that was something that was really exciting to me, and not something I really expected to happen when I was, just hanging out and being part of the community and volunteering, because it was something I loved. But
Mhm.
as far as advice for people go, like, find the things that you are excited about, because those are the things that are going to end up making you successful. As, funny as that sounds, all of the things that throughout my life I really like tried because I was told it was the thing I was supposed to do, are the things that I ended up not doing as well. And then I was,
Yeah.
started doing things, like hanging out in the Top Shot Discord, and, kind of helping with the community in that sense, and kind of carving my place in the community. And that was something that I was doing just because I loved it, and because it felt like the right thing to do for me, not because
Mhm.
anybody said I should do it. And that's, I've found a lot more success doing that. So, it was, I think, the first time in my life that I really felt like I fit in, and the things that I was doing like made a difference.
Yeah. Wow, that's really, really cool. And I mean, good for you for making that jump because something I've thought about with different ventures and stuff in the past, and I definitely have been a little more safe. And I mean, I love my job, so that's part of it. I'm very passionate about being able to help people, but like I have so much respect for anyone that can just take a risk and say like let's see what happens. So I know when you were studying computer science you interned at Visa and you talked about how they had all crypto sites blocked at the time because Visa and all these companies were super anti-crypto. They're like, no, we don't want any, we want to control everything. And now Visa bought a crypto punk. So if hypothetically Visa today just reached out to you and they're like, hey, we know you've worked with us, we really liked your work, and we know you're extremely knowledgeable about NFTs, could you come and work for us and be the head of this new division that we're creating? Would you consider that? Would you do that? Or do you think you're very happy with where you are at Top Shot?
I am definitely happy where I am with Dapper, and Top Shot is amazing. CryptoKitties is amazing. We still need to move it to Flow. So like, there's a lot of work to be done here,
Yeah.
and the community that I love is here. Like growing the space in a familiar environment. I think that because we still have a lot of room to grow, it would be silly to jump out and kind of start fresh for me, somewhere
Mhm.
else, even though I've already been at Visa. And, it made me giggle when they bought the CryptoPunk. I was like, look at you, like coming along. But they had, I don't know if you saw, they had like a PDF that they had released that was like recommendations about getting into NFTs and stuff. And
Mhm.
they had actually referenced, CryptoKitties and Top Shot and Dapper Labs and Flow,
Yeah.
mentioning that like Ethereum and Flow were the two options for NFTs. So like that was really heartwarming to see that, somewhere that I had been is recognizing the place that I currently am. And, like my LinkedIn definitely does get a lot of hits from, former Visa coworkers. So that's,
Yeah.
interesting the way that, things come around. Because when I had started there, like everybody had to do this presentation of like, what do you do in your free time? And I was like, oh, I play CryptoKitties and breed digital cats. And people at the time thought it was kind of goofy. And, it still is.
Like, no, not allowed. Stop this presentation now.
Right. They were like, I don't know about this. But it turns out that those digital cats got me where I am. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
fun.
and I think it's cool also to just work for a company that's on the cutting edge of innovation rather than working for someone who's trying to play catch up, like
Yes.
desperately trying to play catch up, which
Yes.
I think
I
is really
mean,
cool.
the people, though, like the people at Dapper are what makes it so special. And like the fact that we have such an amazing, intelligent, and skilled team, but also like the nicest people I've ever worked with, which is, I think, the most important part, honestly, like working with team members that want you to succeed and they want to help make sure that, what you're doing is going to get everybody to the end goal. So that's something that, there's not the competition that I've seen in other spaces internally. It's something that like everybody does work as one, and that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know Alan has said in interviews that Dapper only hires the best, and based on my experience, both in person with Dapper employees and like talking to them either on Discord or like video chatting or whatever, or like with these interviews and stuff like that, it is incredible how kind people are, how and how like sharp they are. Like these are not like run of the mill people. Like every single person I talk to, I'm just like, wow. Like it's truly incredible. And I've yet to run into anyone that I don't immediately like admire in some way, which is really cool.
That's how we have, every time we have new employees hired, and there's, the onboarding introductions. And I'm just like, how are these people so talented and cool? Like I'm starstruck every time. So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else given, the caliber of people that we have and, kind of the trajectory that we're heading.
The big thing I wanted to talk about was I've done videos with Dumbo and Mustafa, and I've heard from a couple other people that you were the driving force when it came to making the WNBA happen on Top Shot. I think that's so cool. You've been mentioned as someone that hasn't got enough credit for it. So part of this is I wanted to give you your flowers for all the hard work that people obviously don't see behind the scenes. But I would love if you could just pull back the curtain, and now that the WNBA is live and we can talk about it a little more freely, just kind of walk me through that process, maybe how long it took, any obstacles you like ran into, stuff like that.
So I guess, and I'm super flattered that people have been mentioning me, because in the big scheme of things, like, I feel like what I've done is not that big, despite the WNBA being big, because the wheels were in motion far even before I joined the team. And you can look back to interviews with Katie and, as far back as like February, March. So,
Mhm.
I didn't even join the team until March, but mentioning the WNBA. And so, as we've seen with many things, in Top Shot, decisions and features don't get rolled out right away. That's something that, takes a while. And especially having, external partners, like, things tend to take longer than if you're building, like if we were, say, building CryptoKitties things and rolling something out, we could just do it because it's all of our IP and it's not something that we have to have external checks on. But having external partners means that everything you do has more checks and, more validations, people making sure that what we're putting out reflects appropriately on all the parties involved. So that's something that, has for the WNBA been a very long process. And the number of people involved in making sure that the W got rolled out has been huge. I don't know if you saw last night, actually, on Twitter, Austin Kent was on Twitter doing an AMA and, like,
Yeah.
giving all of the information about the moments for the drop, for the, 25 years of WNBA greatness. Like, he is so amazing, like getting the moments, sourced, getting all the videos and the images, for those initial previews. Like, those are things that, it's not a one-step process by any means. You don't just pick and say, here's a play that I want. Okay, we're good. Like, those things.
Make it happen, WNBA. Like, let's do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and the fact that they're plays from 1999 means that there aren't it's not as readily available either, which I think is crazy. And his encyclopedic knowledge about the WNBA is pretty impressive, and the NBA, which just shows like how much perfect of a person he is for that job.
He really is, but you could see as he was explaining, through the AMA and things that he's talked about in Discord before, like, it is a long process, the back and forth, making sure, because not only do you have to make sure that the players that are, primarily in the moment are, part of the Players Association, we have the appropriate licensing, you have to make sure that kind of everybody involved is going to have approvals. So, those are bigger things that, sometimes delay rolling out, moments that we'd like to see. And so with the WNBA, like, we had so many people internally, like, going back and forth with all of the, the league and all of the involved parties, getting everything ready, because it's not just the moments, it's also the marketing. How can we market this? How can we involve influencers? This is a lot of where I came in, was, the marketing, the influencer side, kind of coordinating and making sure that, when we did the launch last month, that we had folks that were out there helping promote and making sure that the fans of the WNBA were being, exposed to this product, because this is something that, obviously we have NBA fans, and some of the NBA fans are also WNBA fans. Top Shot's been around for a year now, but there was definitely a desire to get, primarily WNBA focused fans, because the W fans are so diehard and loyal, and the WNBA
Yeah.
players are so amazing. They're so in tune with their communities. They really lean in, like everything we've seen as we've been releasing these moments. Like, the W players are on Twitter, they're on Top Shot, they're making their accounts, making showcases, they're interacting with the fans. Like, that's something that is so magical, like having them so accessible and so in tune with what's going on. And
Mhm.
so for those things, like that's a lot of, making sure that we had everything in place, making sure that when the W rolled out onto the site, that it's getting a similar treatment to the NBA. So, that we're getting badges, that, we're getting team pages, that we're getting the same, that way it doesn't look like it's a subset of Top Shop, but simply that it belongs as it should, next to the NBA.
Yeah.
And so those were a lot of the conversations that internally, we had to make sure that we were covering and implementing in a way that would make sense. And as everybody had saw, like Collector Score had, a blip in the planning. That was one oversight that did get fixed, and was very important to us to fix, because while not intended, like that was something that had a rather negative unintended effect and needed to be fixed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that's kind of the process there and being involved in a lot of that. But honestly, by no means did I have like a very huge role, because there were so many people involved. Like the team is absolutely just dedicated to what's going on with so many different people, getting things ready on the back end, getting things ready, partnerships, and it's definitely a team effort.
Well, is there anyone that also worked on it that you'd like to give their flowers as well?
I feel like everybody, like we've got, Katie and Mara working with the lead. They're so amazing and making sure that we're getting, everything that we need. And Austin, like getting the plays, and like everybody who's helping with those things, like those are huge. And Jacob actually has been helping me kind of get more in on the influencer side of things and showing me the ropes there. So that's been new and exciting too. Those are like there's countless people to name, for everything that rolls out. And I just think of, if it were like a video game and you're rolling out credits, like it would be a really impressive list, that's for sure.
Well, we'll have to make that one of these days then. Just a scrolling credits at the end of every one of Jacob's videos. Just that way people get the shout out they need. No, I mean, it's just seeing all the front facing people like Austin, like Dumbo, like you, Jacob, all these people that constantly, Alan, even from the top down. It blows my mind how much extra work people put in just on the front end, like interacting with people on Twitter, answering questions, going in the Discord to answer questions. And that's only on the stuff that we see. So I can only imagine all the extra work and extra hours that are not like contractually obligated to do, that people put in because they're passionate and they care about the project and they want to help everyone else that's working, because obviously, like, if you slack off, everyone else has to pick it up. And I think that's one thing that really, like, I think it's so cool, because you don't see that. Like, even as you guys are growing, like, you kind of see that with a smaller company, and then as the company grows, there becomes more inefficiencies and overhead and stuff like that. And it really seems like you guys kept things really tight, which is so impressive. And like I said, everyone I talk to loves working at Dapper. They love putting in that extra effort. It's really, really cool to see. And it's one of the reasons I believe so strongly in Top Shot, is not just because I think the product's amazing, but the team behind it, I think, is the best team you'll find out there for sure, from top to bottom. And I don't think you could say that about a lot of products anywhere, like physical or digital,
Yeah,
which is really, really
it's
cool.
like the team is amazing. I think, a large part of the success, and as you mentioned, like obviously there's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes, but getting people that are passionate about what we're doing and understand the vision and where we're going, and kind of where the space can go, like that is a very big component of it. Because honestly, like, you know, I joined and they're like, okay, tell us about your hobbies. And I was like, this is literally my hobby. So, now I have the time for, doing my work, but also like my hobby time gets applied to, because I'm like, where do I draw the line? Because it's literally a lot of what I was doing before. And you see that with a lot of people. Like, this is what they're excited and passionate about. So being able to be a part of that is, like something that people choose to do. It's not like, oh, I have to go to work today. Like, I'm excited to wake up and do things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, I mean, you mentioned your hobbies, but I don't think you can just say like, oh, my hobbies are just like CryptoKitties and Top Shot. Like, you do a lot. Like, I was going through your Twitter and I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, I'm someone who just does a lot and always like blows my mind finding someone who's as crazy as me. Like, I know you're a big sports fan. I know you're a big Raiders fan. I know like you are super super knowledgeable about NFTs. I think you're out of like all the people that like understand NFTs, you're someone that is probably near the top one because you've just been in it so long, which is really really cool. And then you're a mom, you're live streaming on Twitch, like you do so much. And like I said, I'm someone who does a lot and is very passionate about a lot of things and can just like obsess over something new and just learn everything about it. So, what's your advice for someone who like has all these passions, but obviously we only have a limited amount of time? Like, how do you manage all of that? And still like get enough sleep and like have your mental health like stay well and all that.
So that's a really good question. I will say that I do have ADHD, which makes sleep a much more sporadic thing. I've just always had trouble sleeping, and even with medication, like I still have struggles. So a lot of time when I'm like, instead of like I cannot unwind and lay down, I'm like, okay, well I'll do other stuff and be productive, and then take a nap when I can, which obviously is not advice that works for everybody, but respecting the way my brain is wired and kind of working around it is definitely something that has made a huge difference. And I was only diagnosed maybe 4 years ago. So it was one of those things that was like a light bulb moment where suddenly I was like, oh, this is why I've always, had these weird tendencies that people are like, that's, not how it's supposed to be. And I'm like, okay, but that's how I am. So it
Yeah.
made sense. And, helped with a lot of the like, okay, well, now that I know, I can plan around, what works best for me. And so a lot of that, especially with Dapper is like I'm not a morning person. So like I'm great from like maybe noon until 4 a.m. And then 4 a.m. is kind of the wall. Like the crack of dawn is not my friend. So I make sure that I'm planning things around, obviously the kids have school now, so I have to be up and make sure they're up. But for the most part, when I'm doing things, I'm planning around what, works best for me, and found an environment that is flexible and allows for that. Because with Dapper, a lot of stuff, there are very hard deadlines for sure, but there's also some flexibility. So as long as you're getting the things done, you have the freedom to kind of figure out when during the day that works, as long as other people aren't waiting on it. And that has been, super huge for, my success and kind of finding my way and being more effective. But for doing like everything, honestly, I've tried to find hobbies or interests and kind of prune them because I tend to like be excited about all the things. So,
Yeah.
trying to narrow that down to things that go together and have some,
Mm.
consistency. So obviously with, I was going to school for computer science. I'm like, okay, well, I have a hobby that, video games and then crypto, like these things have some relevance to what I was doing, which helped me learn more, but also, kind of kept me focused on, the topic at hand. And then, I've always had this love of concerts and sports and football, especially, so like those things, especially now as we're rolling into NFTs and, kind of seeing the future for how we can pull those in. I'm like, okay, so that, I'm going to these experiences, I'm taking pictures, I'm taking videos of the concerts, but like those things could like theoretically we could end up with moments of concert performances as well. Get like a song clip or something. Like
Mhm.
I don't think that that's outside of the realm of possibility given everything else that's being developed. And
Yeah.
I will say like that's not alpha by any means. Like there's no plans that I'm aware of that are building that. It's just something that like since I saw CryptoKitties, I was like, we could have like concert tickets on the blockchain. And now that
Yeah.
we've got Top Shot, like we could have videos. Like these are ways to capture those experiences that people have been having. And it was like a fleeting moment that you experience. but now you can have it. And so those are things that are really exciting to me. And, so now when I'm going out and doing these things, I'm like, how else can we connect the dots, And a lot of that, I'm involving the kids. So we have a concert to go see Alice Cooper tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, and I'm going to take the kids to that. So, like, getting them involved. They have their own CryptoKitties accounts. They keep asking me for more ETH to breed kitties, but gas fees are crazy right now, so we're on hold. It's a lot of, I think, finding the things that you love and seeing how you can piece them together like a puzzle. So that way, it does work for the hours in the day. And
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of times you'll find there's more commonality than not.
And I think that's really cool that you're able to share that experience with your kids too. Like that's something that's always with my dad, it was sports for sure. And he grew up a diehard Angels fan. So we would go to Angel games all the time. And I still have a bunch of those ticket stubs. And we're in this transition from physical to digital. And like right now, when you go to an Angels game, you scan your ticket. I just went to one. You scan your ticket, and then it's gone. Like you don't have a record of it. Like you can take a picture when you're at the game or something. But if the tickets were NFTs, even if they don't have to be worth anything necessarily, but it would be cool to just have that to say like, oh yeah, like I was there. This is a memory that I'll cherish forever. Stuff like that for sure. I was talking to Alan about that actually a lot. He's a diehard Angels fan too. Like he DM'd me out of the blue and he was like, yeah, I was at game 7. I was like, oh my gosh. Like I remember watching that on TV with my dad and like all that stuff. And it is really cool how that stuff really like unites like strangers. And we've seen it with Top Shot. Like I've made so many people, I never thought I would make like real friends on the internet. Like I was like, oh, I have some internet friends, I have some real friends. But Top Shot has really like blurred that line for sure. Like meeting up with everyone in Vegas. Like we were planning to go meet up before we knew Top Shot was going to be there. The timing just worked out. And I would say that a good chunk of those people I met like are legitimately friends of mine. I talk to some of them every day and like plan on seeing them in the future. And like that's crazy. And the only thing that connected us at the beginning was just our like enjoyment of basketball. Like at various levels too. Like some people were super, super into it, and other people was like, oh, I just like basketball. I saw this and was like, this is cool. And it's pretty incredible. And I think that's one thing that sports has always done, and now adding technology even just adds it like another level to that, which is so great.
It is so magical, and that's one of the things that I was seeing, even from the time that I joined the space is, get involved and with CryptoKitties, there was a lot of different ways to collect. You could collect the really elite kitties like the Gen Zeros, things with gems, or you could just make cute things. And those were the connections that like I was just making like goofy cute things and sharing them, and there were other people who were excited about that too. So then we were forming these friendships and like, oh, we could make these type of cute things. Or then I swear to God, we had a contest to make kitties that only a mother could love, so we tried to purposely
I saw you talk about when I first met.
And like that was a thing. But like those are the kind of things that like you do with friends, and then you have those connections. And is the kitty worth a lot? Like maybe not, but the sentimental value attached to it because of the experience that you had, like that's where the value comes in.
Yeah,
and that's something that I think in the greater space, as people are looking at NFTs, like they do not have to all have resale value. And I would argue that they really shouldn't all have resale value. Some of them, like you mentioned for concert tickets, like just having the stuff, having something to prove that you were there, like the value is in the experience that you associate with it. So, that's really important. And then having ways to commemorate, things like you going to Vegas and meeting up with your Top Shot friends, like those are the things that, having that and being able to display that in your collection, because you can't do that. You don't have the physical ticket stubs anymore.
Yeah, no, and I mean that's one reason why I own that whole set on Top Shot. And I mean one of the reasons why is because, well, I mean I'm in 2 of the moments, so it's a little biased, but another reason why is because it does hold so much sentimental value. Like I could have sold them all. Like I sold my duplicates, but I could have sold them all and they were going for quite a bit. But I was like, no, I have to keep like at the set. Like I need this because like to me it's such a special, like pivotal moment in my life, honestly. I never always wanted to go to summer league. It's been something kind of on the bucket list and just never gotten around to it. And this was that push. Never been to Vegas. Not that I really like it was high on the list once again, but this was that push. Like met these people, got to meet a bunch of people that work at Top Shot, got on ESPN. Like it was such an incredible experience. And I never want to forget that. And yeah, like the whole like having like an Angel game ticket or a concert ticket on the blockchain is like really special just memory wise because it's not going to get destroyed or lost when you move or accidentally thrown away by your mom. Like, and it doesn't have to have value, but you can just having it is so cool. And I know at least for me, like especially sports tickets and yeah, concert tickets would be so cool. Like if you went to a festival and like the wristband you use to also like have a NFT like and I know artists, like, especially like someone like Tyler, the Creator or something, would have, like, a really cool NFT associated with it. It would just be, like, some character or something like that, and that would be so cool and something that I probably would never sell even if, like, it was worth a lot of money because, like, it's that connection to that memory, and that's, like, so special.
So I like secretly have this hope that when they do it, they turn into like the old school concert poster style art.
Yes.
Because that would be amazing. And like,
Yeah.
Cleveland is my favorite city, and they've got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So like, I regularly go there, and I'm just like staring at all of the old nostalgic posters. Like, please bring back this art in a way that we can collect.
That's so cool. No, so I'm actually someone who's like super into sneakers and clothes. I've been thrifting and buying and selling sneakers and clothes for 8 years now. Um, and I own like vintage stuff is like some of my favorite stuff because the graphics are so sick on it and they're so loud and like unique and all that stuff. And if they brought that back with the artwork, when it's a lot easier to do and you don't have to worry about like screen printing costs or anything like that because it's all digital, like that would be so sick. And I mean, that's one reason it would be really cool for these like concerts and festivals and stuff to have NFTs because artists probably for the first time, like streetwear designers, rappers, like musicians, like everyone in between would have kind of unlimited creative like license because they wouldn't be bound by like how many colors you can use, like what quality of like material. Oh, like you want to make this piece, like this has to be cut and sew. Well, that means it's going to cost this much. And if you want to do this to us, it's going to cost this much. And suddenly, like, it's too pricey for us to make a good profit on. So you actually can't do that idea. Like, it removes all that stuff. It creates less waste in the world with all these like throwaway concert t-shirts and stuff like that. Like it would be it I think it's for sure something that a lot of people would be super into. And I'm very excited for hopefully that to come sooner rather than later. And I think Top Shot's such a good first step into that 100%, which is a lot of responsibility too. And it's really cool listening to interviews that you've done, that Alan's done, that other people at Top Shot have done who clearly understand that and like make very conscious decisions, like looking very like broad, big picture and future forward. And I think that's once again something that's so cool about Dapper as a company. It really seems like you guys, it's very obvious this is not like some money grab, like it's some of these NFT projects are that we're seeing. But it's like something that's like trying to define the future and like all that stuff. And I mean, that's clearly why the NBA is took a gamble with you guys because I don't think they would risk their brand on something that clearly is very out of their comfort zone. But
And it's amazing, like seeing the league step up and explore this whole new technology field because like we're literally building the future. Like there's no roadmap for where we can go that we can follow. I would say to clarify, like there's not a pre-made one that we're working from. Like it's something that needs to be built, and that's interesting. Like, you don't have steps to follow and have that path laid out for you yet.
Yeah. And even how you guys are like very conscious and making sure it's decentralized and stuff, so you guys don't become the next Facebook. Like, that's really cool. Like, yeah, it's something that excites me a lot as someone from the outside looking in. So I can only imagine being on the inside and hearing about all these future plans has got to be, like you said, something that you wake up every morning excited to do, which is so cool. But so I know you're a Raiders fan, and that last game was pretty crazy. I'm sure your heart was beating 1,000 miles per minute. But are you a big NBA/WNBA fan? If so, like, who are your favorite players and teams, and like what's your history with that?
So I actually do not have much history with basketball. Yeah, so I will say, like, on the Dapper side, we obviously have some like really hardcore basketball fans. We've got Jacob and we've got Austin, and like there's
Yeah.
so many folks, that work behind the scenes that are just like absolute like basketball, pros. But Nate, like our head of comms, like he's such a basketball guy too, and like it's amazing talking to them, like the knowledge that they have. And so Top Shot has actually like got me into basketball more. Like I, have always been like a default Pistons fan, being from Michigan, but it's not something that, I'd been to a couple of games like when I was younger, but not something that I like actively was like involved in. I think largely because my dad was always more of a football fan, so that's kind of what was on at the house. He was football and then hockey. So that sort of covers the span of the year when a lot of things are going on.
Yeah.
So like as a kid, I wasn't exposed to it as much. And then Top Shot rolled out, and I had been just part of the community when it started. So I'd actually started collecting Top Shot like the very first day of closed beta, and like I was, collecting there. So that got me more interested in the sport as a whole. But, even then I was like, I like think it would be cool since there is the WNBA. Like I would like to see more female athletes being showcased, and, kind of hoping and nudging and like, please just, because crypto as a whole has always been a very like dude bro kind of space, where
Yeah.
even, my username like RudeM00se is usually assumed to be like a dude wearing flannel with a beard. Like and you laugh, but like there's a person
No, I
I've been
totally
like
get it.
interacting for the last 2.5 years that up until maybe 6 months ago thought that was the case. So, it's, really interesting that having, I think, a space that seems so, dominated by one group, and then having more representative NFTs. So we've got the WNBA now. There's, all sorts of the avatars that are being minted. So, they've got the World of Women, the Crypto Chicks, like all sorts of things that are rolling out that are trying to focus more on, female presence and avatars. And what we've seen is that as those things roll out, there are more members of the community that are being open about the fact that they are female. Because we've seen the transition, and that was the case with CryptoKitties very early on. There was actually a separate Discord when you were kind of identified as a woman. They're like, okay, we have a Discord for ladies only. And that shouldn't have to be a thing, but the space has always been a little bit rough. So finding safe spaces for people to be themselves, and be comfortable being themselves, like that's been huge. And, so having the WNBA so prominently displayed on Top Shot, and, now we can share the moments on Twitter, like we're seeing that. And we're seeing the increase in, female presence in the space, and having those role models for, young girls, and, people being able to, because it's hard to become what you can't see.
Yeah.
So having that presence, like that's really huge. And I know that's like a weird diversion from your question about basketball fandom, but
No,
it's
that was better than I could ask for
you know
sure.
that's, I think, kind of the big thing about this space. So like, yes, I was a Pistons fan. Like I'm much more a WNBA fan. and seeing all of these amazing athletes, kind of being showcased. That's for me been a really magical thing.
No, that's so cool. No, my one of the reasons why I was so like excited that you have a computer science background is because it is an insanely male dominated space. And like you said, how you can't be what you can't see. Like my sister, super brilliant. My sister is so smart, so driven, so ambitious. Like one of the most amazing like females I know for sure. My younger sister, and when she was, like, applying to colleges and stuff, I was like, "No, you should go into computer science, like, you have the brain, you have, like, the capability, you would crush it, and, like, you should push yourself and, like, really see, like, what level of potential you can reach." Because like I said, she is one of the smartest people I've ever met, and she ended up not doing that, and I think a big reason was just because, like, she didn't really have a lot of references to, like, "Oh, like, what would this look like? Would I be able to make friends in this space?" Stuff like that, and I do think it's something that's so, so important, and I mean, she's done business and accounting, and she's, like, absolutely crushing it. She, like, had a job lined up, like, 2 years before she graduated, like, she's doing just fine. Like she's still like super smart and sharp and amazing and all that stuff. But it's something that definitely really opened my eyes up, partly being in computer science and just being like, oh my gosh, it is all guys here.
Right. I had a couple classes that were all dudes and me. And
Yeah.
like, I think that had I done that degree first, it would have been more intimidating. But like I was going back as, like a 30-year-old non-traditional student with kids.
Mhm.
So for me, I was like, I'm just here for classes. I'm not trying to be your friend.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that
No.
helps. But when, you're still young and kind of having those, formative social years, like that's a little bit more intimidating.
Yeah, there's a lot going on when you're 18. Like, looking back, I'm just like, they expected me to know what I wanted to do and, like, go to a new environment and meet all these new people and, like, all this stuff. Like, it is kinda crazy, and it definitely I mean, it was intimidating for me. Um, I can only imagine adding another layer on top of that to have to worry about. So, like I said, I think it's something that's really cool, and one of the reasons I wanted to interview you is because there's just a lot of things I found as I was doing research, watching all your old interviews and stuff. I was like, wow, like I don't think a lot of people fit in like this box. And that's something that always like really fascinates me. So thank you for putting yourself out there. I think it makes a big difference to a lot of people. And I think it will continue to make a big difference to a lot more people for sure. So really appreciate that.
Definitely excited to be a part of things that open doors for more folks to participate. Like that's, for me, I think the most exciting part is being able to enable others to participate and, find what makes them happy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's really rewarding when you see someone like it click, like they get it. Whether that's with Top Shot or something else. And I don't think there's many things that are more like that feel like better than that, like helping someone like discover something new that they might be really, really passionate about.
Yeah, that's, I think, over the last couple of years, just being part of the community and enabling folks. And, because I went from CryptoKitties to Top Shot, and then the whale community was founded. So I've been moderating over there as well and part of that leadership. And like that, introducing folks to the crypto space in various ways and providing the educational resources to really be successful in the space. Whatever you define success is, whether it's, creating your own NFTs and being an artist, or, kind of getting into DeFi trading, or really just like, buying into projects and holding or flipping, like everybody has different gauges of success. So making sure that you're, finding things that work for them is, a really big thing. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of different ways to play the game. It's not even
Oh,
the same
yeah.
game sometimes, but you see so much comparison on social media where people are like, "Oh, you're not gonna make it." I'm like, "How do you know though?" Like, don't make people feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many different ways to, like, attack Top Shot. Like, that's pretty much, like, the niche that my channel, like, addresses is, like, a lot of different ways to do that. Like, it just exponentially increases the more you, like, span out, and I think And it's an interesting space because as much as I believe in NFTs and there's a lot of them that I'm really excited about and like, there's a lot of them that are like pyramid schemes, and it's just people pumping their own bags and basically trying to push other people's bags down to like raise theirs up, and it can become a very toxic environment very quickly if certain like the wrong people and with the wrong intentions are involved, where they are just like looking for profit and trying to increase that no matter like the cost. So it's been an interesting space to navigate for sure. As someone who's very tech savvy, but this whole space being very new and kind of feeling like a fish out of water for the first time in a long time with something that's tech. I'm just like, oh boy, there's a lot more to digest here than I thought. I thought I'd kind of just jump in once I figured out Top Shot, like everything would click and we'd start rolling again. But
It's
there's a lot
it's a
going on.
rabbit hole. Like I've been, 3.5 years now, and there's still stuff every day that I'm learning. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
and
know
we're
that it
really just
ends,
scratching the
honestly.
surface of NFTs too. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
So my last question for you before I let you go is I know that so you had said you got in the closed beta for Top Shot and you were actually able to complete the series 1 base set. You have the whole base set, which is a pretty big accomplishment. And I know Alan from Top Shot also has done that. So, is there anyone else in Dapper who completed that before they got turned off and couldn't buy anymore? And then also, I think it was Alan on a recent interview. I'm pretty sure it was him. On a recent interview, he said that Top Shot is exploring the possibility of employees maybe being allowed to unlock their accounts and participate in the marketplace. And I was just wondering what you think that might look like and what would you do with the to make up for lost time if that happened?
So to answer the first part, like I honestly have not found other employees that have a complete S1 base set. There may be, but with people not actively collecting anymore, it's a little bit harder to figure out who's got what.
Yeah, makes
But
sense.
I will say, like mine, it's so funny because I like historically for anything I've ever done, like World of Warcraft, CryptoKitties, like I'm a completionist, so I need to like complete a set, have all of the things, and so that was my motivation playing Top Shot. I was collecting things, and all of the duplicates that I had, like I just sold them. So that always makes people cringe a little. So I'm like, oh sure, I sold like all my S1 base sets for like $1 because that was the floor back when closed beta was a thing, and like I didn't have a need for more than one, so I figured other people maybe wanted them. Like it wasn't something that I was ever in to make a bunch of money. Like I just wanted to collect the things and like check the boxes, and that was before there were, like the set completion bonuses. That's before you had the team bonuses. So like we were, collecting things and like checking off invisible boxes because they didn't exist yet. But to me,
Yeah.
like, having all of the things, like, it was still a really cool sense of accomplishment. Like, look, I got them all. And I remember buying the last couple that I needed, like, on Christmas Eve or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to pay $90 for this moment. Like, why? And it was probably like, a Luca or something, which now seems absolutely crazy. But, like, at the time, I was like, why?
Like, oh God, why?
Yes. So, like it's funny, like looking at it in perspective because it was a lot at the time. And now you're just like, oh my gosh, that's like a heck of a bargain.
Yeah.
But, markets will market and they always, have the fluctuations. So it was something interesting. But, for me, like I bought them because I wanted to complete the set. So even if we end up having the ability to participate again, which I don't even know what that will look like, honestly, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors to consider to make sure that Dapper employees, if they're participating, are doing so in a way that won't be perceived as being detrimental to the community and the marketplace. And because there's a lot of even if I'm going back and backfilling my collection and then it happens that there's a challenge, like that could be something that ends up people point fingers and go, oh well, you bought the thing because, and I'm like, okay, but I literally was doing it for this other reason. And like it's hard to make that argument sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think that's some of, what the team is trying to figure out. So whatever they roll out with, that's what we'll adhere to. But it would be nice to complete things because I did the S1 base. I still have some, I was working on this S2 base, but obviously, had to stop partway through. I'm so close to completing the S1 MGLE, but I'm pretty sure that's out of my range now, given, all the marketing and where things were. But for me, like, it was always just like, which of these things can I complete? And I was never like, I have some of the legendary ones, but those were things that were always kind of above my price range for completing. Like Alexo has an amazing collection, and he's got,
I mean, that's a bit of an understatement.
You should see his CryptoKitties collection too.
I've dove a little down that rabbit hole as well. I'm just like, what is going on here? Like,
Yes. He's
yeah,
like
insane.
the ultimate like completionist for sure. So
Yeah.
that was something I was like, if I could do things like that's what I would like to do, but my funds are a bit more restricted than that. So, I think if I were able to get back in, things I would focus on now would actually be the WNBA, because I'm really, really excited about that being on the platform, and, especially getting, like the Asia Wilson moment, like the first ever WNBA moment that exists, like that seems like a must have. And so that'd be something that I would be hoping to secure, and, kind of completing the WNBA sets as we go along. So
Nice.
I guess we'll see. But in the meantime, I'll just keep hanging out and participate vicariously through everyone else.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll send you links to my pack openings, and we can do them together.
Perfect.
But okay, so I know I said that was the last question, but you reminded me of one more I wanted to ask you, because you have a long history in World of Warcraft, and like you've talked about that before too. And Alan used to work at Blizzard, which I think is so cool that like that connection has happened. So is there anything, I don't even know exactly what the question is. I just find that so fascinating. But is there anything like any interesting conversations I've sparked?
Been a really interesting topic of conversation. Like when I found out that Alan had worked at Blizzard, I was like, oh my gosh, because I'd been playing WoW for like 10 years. Like I started, at the end of Burning Crusade, and I haven't played much in the last expansion or so, just because things have been so busy in the metaverse that I was like, I can't commit to, because I like competitive raiding, and I can't commit to a raid team, multiple times a week, and making sure that my character's all geared up, and also do all the things that I need to do. So it was one of those things that sort of, kind of went by the wayside for now, although my sub is still active, both of them, because I have my account sub and then my auction account sub.
Nice.
It's serious gaming. Like historically in the gaming side of things, like I was a flipper. I was like always kind of work in the auction house. So it's interesting to see, in the metaverse, how I've definitely been more of a holder than a flipper. But
for now,
yes, I would say I've got so many things though. So one day I'll learn the lesson that I need to buy more than one, because I do that to myself. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy one of the things, and then they go up, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't sell it because it's the only one I have. So I'm still just
there's a guy in our team hold Discord named Real Rad Dad, and his golden rule is always buy two, and it's been proven to be a pretty solid rule for sure.
It really is, and it's one of those things like I've known, and yet I forget it, and then I'm like, oh, I can't justify buying two, and then
then it goes up, and you're just like, like, why didn't I just like sell a kidney? Like, I don't understand.
Seriously, should have done the thing. Like it's it's an interesting thing, but I'm really excited. And a lot of the things that I collect for the NFT space, I collect them because aesthetically I like them, or I think they're cute, or they give me access to things like the communities. Like the whole reason I have a Bored Ape is to have access to the Bored Ape community. So those are things that I wouldn't sell just because it's the thing that gives me access. And with
but your Zed horse you might sell,
some of them.
Okay.
Some of them. I have a whole stable. I've got like a dozen now.
Yeah.
Because I keep breeding them. I don't know what I'm doing, but they look cool.
it was interesting. Like I said, kind of diving. I'm someone who kind of likes to take a deep dive before I talk to someone, because I don't want to ask you the same questions that everyone else has asked. And I mean, another thing I found super interesting is that you're allergic to cats, and I was like, oh, well, maybe that's why she's so like hardcore into CryptoKitties. Otherwise, maybe that's the only thing holding you back from becoming like an actual crazy cat lady.
I had a cat for years, actually,
Yeah.
until we lost her. But like, despite being allergic to cats, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get her anyway. And so it doesn't stop me. I still like to pet things.
Yeah.
But we did
Yeah.
get a bunny this week, which I'm not allergic to. So
Oh, interesting.
he's super cute, Sir Winston Fluffington.
That's so cute. Are you allergic to dogs?
No,
I would personally, I'd say dogs can't go wrong with, from
yes.
personal experience. I'm a big dog guy.
Dogs are good. We've had some dogs. Now I'm like kind of in between moving. I've got an apartment in Michigan, but kind of moving to, with my partner in Cleveland. So until that whole process is sorted out, it probably makes sense to wait on a dog.
Yeah. I
The
currently,
bunny can travel though.
yeah, I live in an apartment, and have over 300 pairs of shoes in my apartment. So owning a dog right now would not be a smart financial move, or a smart like
Your
room
shoes would be
movement.
doomed.
Oh yeah. I would lose everything, most likely, and that would destroy me. So, but I do hope to get a dog when I get a house, and can separate the sneakers and my living situation. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. Well, thank you so much for your time, Candy. This was so great to talk to you and to get to know you a little better. Like I said, personally, on a personal level, definitely have a lot of admiration for you and your journey, and what you've done for Top Shop behind the scenes as well as front facing. I think it's really, really cool, uh, to have a role model, both as just like someone who's a little younger and in the computer science space, as well as for like younger girls out there as well, of someone who really has like just pushed themselves, constantly stepped outside their comfort zones, and pursued their passions, on every step. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this interview, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm sure if you have any questions for Candy, at the very least, I can forward them to you, and maybe we'll do a part two, when something else big happens in Top Shot. Until next time, I'll see you around. This has been Inside Jeb. Please clap.